Hello friends, what's up? It's Jaime here. Welcome back to another Fangirl Fridays video. For today's Fangirl Fridays video, because Halloween is in a couple of days, I thought that it would be fun to talk about some of my favorite indie horror games. I don't really know if I've talked about it much on the channel, but in case you don't know, I am a huge horror games fan. I love all kinds of horror games, big platform horror games, indie horror, I love it all. I was originally going to talk about my favorite horror game of all time in addition to my favorite indie horror games, but currently there is a video game actor strike going on for all of the major developers. So in solidarity with the strike, I am saving that video for another Halloween, and so for today's video, it is going to be all about indie horror. I originally became a fan of indie horror back in 2015 when FNAF 4 came out, and I also want to be extremely clear that I am talking about, when I say FNAF, I am specifically and only talking about the video games and not the other piece of media that has recently come out. Anyway, so that was my introduction to Five Nights at Freddy's as a video game series, as well as indie horror as a whole. From Japanese horror games to visual novels to mascot horror, I love indie horror games. And even though I definitely do agree that in terms of mascot horror, that part of indie horror has definitely become a bit oversaturated in recent years. But I feel like even so, I still like a lot of mascot horror games. Like, I enjoy Poppy Playtime and Bendy and the Ink Machine and everything in between. Especially because I am such a sucker for taking something from childhood, so like Chuck E. Cheese or toys or cartoons, and then making it into horror. Like, I'm literally such a sucker for that. And even though they may not always get it right, I'll still usually check out whatever's new in the mascot horror scene. Anyway, so for this video, I managed to come up with my top 3 indie horror games. This was actually very difficult for me to do because I feel like my top 3 is always changing. But these are my top 3 indie horror games at the moment. This could very well change as new games come out or more content is added for existing games. But as of right now, in this moment, these are my top 3 indie horror games. So without further ado, let's get into the video. At number 3, we have The Closing Shift. The Closing Shift is a 2022 survival horror game created by Chilla's Art. In The Closing Shift, you play as a female barista who is working several closing shifts when it becomes very clear that you are dealing with a stalker and you must deal with the stalker in addition to your barista duties. It's a very simple premise, and I really like The Closing Shift because of that simple premise, because it really makes it very terrifying, just like how rooted in reality this game is, because there's nothing supernatural like going on here. Like, there's no like animatronics that are being haunted by the dead souls of children who were murdered and like coming to life. Like, there's none of that going on in this game. Like, the game is literally just you're barista and you're being stalked. Like, it is as simple as that. But because that is something that really happens to young women, especially single young women, wherever you are. This game is set in Japan, but this is something that happens obviously all over the world. And because of that, that's what makes it feel like just so genuinely terrifying. It just feels so real. And again, it's that realism that makes it so scary, because this is something that happens every day to just regular people. Like, this is something that could happen to me. This could happen to someone I know. This game is so well made. It does such an excellent job of building that tension and that fear and that paranoia that comes with feeling like someone is watching you. And every reveal, when we get more information about this stalker and like what he's doing, is executed so well. I totally get if this game hits a bit too close to home for some people, because again, it really does deal with like what it's like to be stalked in a very, like, again, realistic way. So I totally understand if you want to like avoid this game. But if you can handle the subject matter and you like horror games, then I definitely recommend that you play The Closing Shift. It is available to play on Steam. Alright, at number 2, we have Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki Literature Club is a 2017 visual novel. It's a psychological horror game created by Team Salvato. And in this game, you play as a male high school student who has been convinced to join the literature club at your school by your childhood friend Sayori. On the surface, Doki Doki Literature Club appears to be this light-hearted dating sim where you're able to romantically pursue 3 of the literature club members. There's 5 of you in total, so you the player, and then there's the 4 other girls, and you're able to pursue 3 of them, so Sayori, Yuri, and Natsuki. But in reality, Doki Doki Literature Club is a psychological horror game that gets incredibly meta, and it breaks the 4th wall frequently, repeatedly, namely through Monica, the president of the literature club. Doki Doki Literature Club has unlockable cutscenes and multiple endings where you uncover the dark secrets of the literature club, as well as the nature of the game itself. I remember when Doki Doki Literature Club first came out, and it blew my mind. Like, 15-year-old Jaime literally could not comprehend what she had just experienced. I've always loved visual novels. I know that there are a lot of toxic people in the gaming community who don't consider visual novels to be real games. But some of my favorite games of all time are visual novels, and what I love about Doki Doki Literature Club, not only as a horror game, but also just as a visual novel, is that I feel like it really pushed the boundaries of what's possible for visual novels. And I love a good 4th wall break. I love it when a game, or just any media really, gets super meta, and Doki Doki Literature Club takes that to like a whole other level. I will never forget the first time that I experienced Act 3 and Monica. Like, oh my god, it's just so good. It literally, to this day, never fails to send chills like down my spine. Like, I'm just, oh my god. Especially because there's so much dialogue prepared for Monica's talk. Like, that shit goes on for so long. Like, it's insane. I've always wondered like how long it took for Team Salvato to make Act 3 specifically because of Monica's talk. Like, how long that took to write like every possible like little dialogue thing. Like, that just, oh my gosh, they really outdid themselves with that one. Like, that was just so incredible. I don't want to talk too much about the story because if you haven't experienced, if you haven't played Doki Doki Literature Club for yourself, like, you really just need to experience it for yourself because it is truly unlike anything else. Like, it is just so good. That being said though, Doki Doki Literature Club is a very dark game that deals with a lot of very heavy subjects. Again, I realize that it looks very cute and light and fluffy and colorful on the outside, and it is those things to an extent, but I do feel the need to warn you that if you choose to play this game and if you're not familiar with it, this game deals with, again, very heavy subjects such as depression and self-harm and suicide in very graphic ways. So definitely, above all else, take care of yourself. Check the trigger warnings for this game to kind of gauge whether or not you think you can handle it. But also, like, don't be afraid to sit this one out if you feel like you may not just be able to handle, because again, it's a really dark game. Like, even though I love it, like, sometimes, like, after, like, just going through it, I just need to, like, sit for a moment because it's a lot. Like, it is a lot to stomach. But if you're interested in playing Doki Doki Literature Club, you feel like you can handle it, it is available to play on itch.io, Steam, and on Nintendo Switch. And finally, at number 1, my favorite indie horror game at the moment is Amanda the Adventurer. Amanda the Adventurer is a 2023 mascot horror game where you play as Riley Park, who has recently inherited a house from their Aunt Kate. Throughout the full game, you watch VHS tapes and complete puzzles to unlock the dark secrets of Amanda the Adventurer, a beloved early 2000s children's program starring Amanda and her friend Wooly the Sheep. It is a cartoon that is very much inspired by Dora the Explorer. It's really funny because the original demo for the game was literally just you watching the VHS tapes of Amanda the Adventurer. And while I thought that that was very cool, I wasn't like as a game, like, this wasn't really on my radar for a really long time. Because again, even though I really liked the VHS tapes, I thought it was very spooky and eerie, I was like, it wasn't really like quite a game yet. Which I mean, like, obviously, like, it's a demo, so it wasn't like a full like game yet. Also, as a quick side note, I'm gonna be honest, I don't fully know who exactly made the game. According to Google, it says that the developers are JP Game Design, Mangled Maw Games, and Arcadum. Yeah, I guess it's all of them, I think. But yeah, I'm not really sure like who specifically made the game. But yeah. But when the full game came out, I was all over it. Like I said before, I am such a huge sucker for the whole like childhood gone dark thing when it comes to horror games. Like, oh my god, like it just something about it really speaks to me. I don't know why, but something about it just really calls my name. And also, like I said before, while I definitely feel like the mascot horror scene has gotten a bit overcrowded, a bit oversaturated, I feel like Amanda the Adventurer really nails it. Amanda is so creepy and sinister, but there's also a part of you that feels for her because there are moments where you get to see that she's really just a kid who's in pain, even though she's part demon or possessed by a demon and she's killing people. But it's also like she's still a kid. But Amanda is also very scary, like, don't get it twisted. Like, when she gets mad, and particularly when she like straight up kills Wooly. I'm sorry, I know that's like a spoiler, but it's like, I mean, it's one of the endings. It's like, it's one of the many things that happens in the game. But yeah, she honestly, she kills a lot of people. So are we that surprised? I also love how she breaks the fourth wall. It's not Monica level fourth wall breaking, but Amanda definitely has her moments too. I also love how through the full game, we got to learn more about Amanda as like a show and the people behind it. So like Rebecca and her dad Sam, and how the show really just originally started off as this very sweet, wholesome, like family cartoon until it got taken over by shady people who wanted to summon demons. If I had to say my like one critique of the game, my only gripe is that I would like to know more about Hamlin Entertainment, because like it becomes very clear that like, yeah, they were summoning demons, but like, why were they summoning demons? Like, I want to know. So I think that it would be cool to learn more about them and like why they needed Rebecca specifically to summon these demons through Amanda in like a future update, maybe a sequel, who knows? But I would like to learn more. Another part of like why I really love Amanda the Adventurer as a game is, while it is definitely spooky, it's scary, I don't feel like it's not so dark and like heavy that like it's going to like really like negatively affect like a player's well-being. Like, genuinely, I feel like any horror game fan can enjoy this game safely, and I really like that about it. So I definitely recommend playing Amanda the Adventurer if you are a horror game fan. It's available to play on itch.io, Steam, the Nintendo Switch. Apparently you can even play it on Android. I was looking at that when I was like looking up stuff for this video, and I was like, what? I'll have to ask my boyfriend about that. I'll ask Adam if like he can actually like get it on his phone. So don't necessarily quote me on that. But it's available on everything else I said it was, so you can play it on any of those platforms. It's a really fun game, great for spooky season, great for Halloween, and from my memory, I don't think it's very long actually, like the runtime. I'm pretty sure it's like a 2-hour, maybe less game. I don't remember for certain. But yeah, it's a pretty short game and it's just a lot of fun. Anyway, that's all I have for today's video. Just wanted to keep it short and sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below what your favorite indie horror games are if you are a fan of indie horror. Also, let me know what you're doing for Halloween, if you're doing anything, if you celebrate. Personally, I don't really do that much for Halloween. Like, I like to dress up. Also, I just realized I literally, throughout this whole video, I did not acknowledge the fact that I'm wearing my Halloween costume. I am blank space Taylor Swift. I really love this costume. I feel great. But yeah, so like I like to dress up, but besides that, I really just like to like sit in my bed and eat candy and like watch Let's Plays of horror games on YouTube. So that's probably what my Halloween is gonna look like. I'd also like to quickly just say that the reason why I've dressed up as blank space Taylor Swift for Halloween is because the day this video is actually going up is 1989 Taylor's version release date. Happy happy 1989 TV to all those who celebrate. Alright, that's enough out of me. Once again, that's all I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I upload Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, except when I don't. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.